So we're back with episode 4 of the winter training arc. So you saw the episode yesterday. I hope you have. If you haven't, go watch it afterwards. But in that episode, we didn't actually do any of the big three lifts. The squat, the bench, or the deadlift. We didn't do any of those. And we did weighted pull-ups and we did a bit more calisthenics kind of stuff. And then some bodybuilding stuff. So myself and Abhishek, we thought we'd do something a little bit different for this session. So what we thought we'd do is we thought we'd do the squat, the bench, and the deadlift all in one session, not going all the way to failure with them, but giving them a good intensity, what is called a SBD day. We do all three in one day. So right now I'm starting out with squats. And squats are my worst lift of the three because you see my feet are actually flat. I have flat feet, right? And that means that I don't really have arches in them. And I've tried certain kinds of shoes and stuff like that, but they don't really work for me. So I've just got some pretty normal trainers on right here. And because of that, the way I grew up is that my knees are sort of outward as well. My feet point outward when I walk. So I have a bit of a penguin walk. And I think naturally that's created a little bit of a imbalance between the legs as well. So it's my right leg. Yeah, it's my right leg which is a little bit weaker than my left leg. So when you see these reps here, you can probably see that the way things engage are slightly different between the two legs. And it does cave in slightly with the right one. But this used to be a lot worse in the past. I've made quite a lot of progress when it comes to this. So it is just a matter of training it and getting used to stuff. So yeah, I've done 20 kg, 40 kg and 60 kg. I've got Abhishek as well. Put on 30 kg for his warm-ups. And when you're doing squats, you want to make sure that you have tightness throughout your whole body. You want to keep your upper back tight. That way you can keep the bar tight on your traps, upper traps. And there's different positions you can do for that as well. And then here you just want to go to depth. You want to make sure that you hit parallel. You want to make sure that everything's going well, you know? So squats are definitely a good exercise to do. And I know a lot of these men are out here skipping leg day. And the thing is, when you're out here skipping leg day, for anyone who is, or anyone who's neglecting leg day, let me just give you some wisdom, some paras wisdom, okay? When it comes to skipping legs, number one, it's going to give you a worse mentality because legs are pain. That's why people skip them. Legs are pain and they cause you pain in training them. Obviously discomfort, not actual like injury or anything. But a lot of people don't like feeling that discomfort. So firstly, if you do legs, if you train them hard, you're going to build up a lot more mental strength. Second reason is even if you don't really care that much about how your legs look, it does look better if they're proportional to your actual physique. It's not just the V taper. You sort of want a bit of an X frame as well. You want sort of X shape to an extent where your legs are well developed. Having those tree trunk legs can definitely be a good thing to have as well. So that's another reason. And a reason on top of that is that you actually make more muscle. Your hormones are better placed if you have more muscle on you. So it can actually increase your testosterone and stuff like that too, if you have the muscles in the legs. So don't be skipping legs, boys. Don't be skipping legs. But here we are doing some squats. And because this was an SBD day, this sort of replaced the leg day. But there's still legs involved in squats and deadlifts. So I'm not one of these boys skipping legs. And I do hypertrophy stuff for legs as well. Just today was a little bit different because we wanted to make the most of the equipment here. So you've been seeing the squats that we've been doing. We did some warm-ups. I did an 80 kg. And now we've got Abhishek doing, I believe this was 50 kg. And he wanted to rep it out, just get used to the form a little bit with a heavier weight. Because when people talk about doing form work, a lot of the time they talk about doing it in the lighter weights. And it's important not to go too heavy, right? Oh yeah, he was telling me here that he got one more. I was trying to tell him, like, bro, you should stop here still because he's going a bit close to maximal intensity. But then he showed me this rep. He went for one more and it's difficult, but he had that in him pretty decently still. He probably still had about a couple in the tank, so it wasn't too bad. And when it comes to my knee cave, as it goes heavier, it does get a little bit worse. But that's the point I was trying to make, is that a lot of people, when they do this kind of technique work, right, they'll just stick at low weights. And it's important to not go too heavy. But I think a lot of the technique breakdown happens when you go a bit heavier, right? So you don't want to go too close to your max, but you do want to make sure that you get a good amount of weight on and see if you can maintain form at heavier weights too. So I'm showing you a bit of a side angle here, just going for 105 kg, trying to rep that out. And yeah, you do want to make sure that you hit depth properly. Hitting depth is about when your hips are parallel to your knees or slightly below that. A bit below that is probably best. But here I was able to hit depth pretty well. The knee cave was showing a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. Then here I believe Abhishek went for another set of 50 kg just to get used to this kind of form with it as well. And something that he struggled with a little bit was having his palms too far back. Because if you have your palms too far back, and he was working on this here a little bit, but if you have them too far back, then you can put a lot of strain onto the wrists. When you have a lot of strain onto the wrists, that can cause a lot of wrist pain. So you want to make sure that they are tight and that they're not too far back. You want to make sure they're pretty neutral on the bar. You can tuck them back a little bit, but don't have them like fully like 80, 90 degrees backwards, like your bent wrists backwards, because that's going to hurt, man. So it's a lot better to keep them in a bit more of a slightly tucked position. Like you can see here, his wrists were not too bad. It's got good tightness too. But when it comes to where you place your hands on the bar, when it comes to the stance that you use, a lot of the time that is just for you getting used to what works best for you. You need to find what stance is best for you. And how outward your feet should be, again, does depend on what works best for you. So for me, it's about this kind of 45-ish degree angle, which can work for quite a lot of people, even those without my weird penguin feet, you know? So it can work for a decent amount of people still, so that's not too bad. And understand that when you're doing squats, you're going to have some goofy faces, you know? Because you got to get a big brace in. You want to get a ton of air into your stomach, and you want to brace and push explosively. So in doing that, you are going to make some goofy faces. Like, I mean, look at my face, bro. Look at this guy. Like, what is he doing? Like, obviously, it looks a bit whack. Like, why is he bringing in so much air into his face? But by doing that, you are able to get some good reps. So we've done the squats. It was time to do bench press. And if you watched the first episode, you saw that I have a little bit of a lat imbalance, right? So sometimes that can show. And even though I'm trying to do these reps pretty explosively, you can see that at the bottom and towards the top, there is a little bit of a imbalance there. It's showing a little bit. And this was my first time doing all of this sort of powerlifting stuff back at this gym, right? So I do have to get used to getting back into the flow of things. I did do bench, but I didn't really do it that much. I was just trying to get used to it on the first session back. So this is the second time doing bench here since I've been back, but there's still some time to get used to it. So there's definitely that as well. And the thing is, in this gym, they have what are called power bars, which are the kinds of high quality bars that are used in the sport of powerlifting, right? And these bars have very aggressive knurling. The grip on them is really harsh, right? So they can like put a lot of strain on your hands, but they also feel really tight at times. So that's a little bit different too, because if you have a more standard kind of bar, more standard Olympic bar, it's normally not that harsh with the grip, so it can move about in your hands a little bit. Like you can change your wrist position. If you try and do it with this, right, if you try and change your wrist position with this bar, it hurts and it's not stable. So there's a bit of a learning curve. Like you have to figure stuff out. And here with the 40 kg trying to do it controlled, it's looking slightly better. Still a little bit of that imbalance showing, but it's not too bad. So my boy Abhishek, he's got 40 kg here, and we were talking about him being consistent when it comes to the gym, because he has started many times, but then he's never been consistent. A lot of the times he's had me motivating him, and then as soon as I'm gone out of the equation, he can't really seem to keep that going himself. But what I was saying to him is that starting is the most difficult part, right? If you're able to start, then you can make a ton of progress if you're just able to do that. If you're able to start and go a few times and see some progress, because you'll see in a bit, you'll see later on that he actually was able to get a PR after some time of not being off. Now, it's not the most he's ever done, but on deadlifts, he got a pretty spicy PR, not too bad. So it was good to be able to see that. I know we said that we're not meant to be going all the way to max with this kind of SBD day, but it was the last lift, and based off how one of the warm-ups moved, we wanted to go for it. So it's not the most optimal lifting necessarily, but as long as you're not getting yourself injured, I think it can be fine to push in certain ways sometimes, even if it's not the most optimal for your gains or whatever it might be. Sometimes you just want to have fun, man. Sometimes you want to do a bit of goofy stuff. You want to mess around a little bit. I think a few people in the gym do get a little bit too serious. So I just did, that was an 80 kg warm up, I believe. And now we shifted the camera angle because we tried to do it from the other side before. But me giving a lift off, you can imagine from this backward angle, all you can just see the bunda, bro. That's it, You can just see me. So I'm kind of in the way. So we got this other side angle. Gave us 60 kg there. Not bad at all, man. Not bad at all. And then 55 kg. I believe here we were giving commands of the powerlifting commands. So in powerlifting, you have these commands to start the rep. Then you pause it on the chest for about a second. You say press. So there's press there. And then you rack it after you're done with that. So that way, it's just standardized technique, right? Because if everyone had different technique of timing, it would be different. So here I just did a 90 kg with that command, start, press, rack command. So based off that, I thought I'd go for 95, Went for 95. The bar path is decent. It was slightly imbalanced. Like one side was a little bit higher than the other, but wasn't too bad. So that's bench press done. And with that done, it was time to do some deadlifts. And this workout was a little bit more experimental. It wasn't for like a proper program, or it wasn't for being the most optimal. It was just a bit of fun. It was just a bit of experimenting and also making the most of this powerlifting equipment, because we're not going to be in this gym for super long. We've got until the end of the month, the end of December, right? So we want to make the most of it, and we hadn't really made much use of the powerlifting equipment yet. So we thought we'd do that. So right now I'm doing what's called Romanian deadlifts, just where you don't go all the way down, you just push your hips back. And in that way, you're able to get a really good stretch on the hamstrings. So doing that with 40 kg, which is about 90 pounds. I'm sorry, I haven't been translating stuff into pounds for my American boys, but come on, man, like imperial units. No one likes imperial units, man. Why pounds, bro? Like kilograms are just better. I'm sorry, bro. Kilograms are just better than pounds, man. I say that though, but at the same time, in the UK, we do have systems of, like, say, imperial stuff like 5'11" or inches, like stuff in foot and inches, and I kind of like foot and inches because, like, I don't know, like 6 foot sounds kind of cool, and that's what I say my height is, because it is with shoes. I'm 5'11", so basically 6 foot in it. So yeah, 60 kg here. I've been working on my deadlift form quite a bit, and here it's a little bit different because again, it's a learning curve to get used to it, right? But the equipment here is nice, man. Like the bars are awesome. And you might have seen that the plates look really thin, right? And the reason the plates are really thin is because they are what are called calibrated plates. And calibrated plates weigh exactly what they say. In normal gyms, when it says a plate is 45 pounds or 20 kg or whatever, it's not necessarily exactly that. It's probably close. It might be exactly that. But it could be something like 19.5, or it could be 21 or something random. Like, it's not necessarily going to be the 20 kg. But when you come to these calibrated plates, they're exactly what they say they are. So I think here I'm just doing a 100 kg warm-up. Not too bad. The deadlift has been one of my best lifts for a while, to be honest. So of the three, when it comes to squat, bench and deadlift, it's probably the deadlift that is the best. And the form's been improving a bit. If you remember, if you did end up watching my video where I got the 180 kg deadlift, that was a PR a few months ago, and it was in this gym as well. And the equipment here is just nice, man. But in doing that rep, I had to use chalk, and my form wasn't that good. But I think now I'd be able to do it with better form, even though I'm a lighter body weight. I'm a few kg lighter than I was then. I'm about 72 kg. Again, I can translate that to pounds. I'm like 158. So here I do 120 kg, and the form is slightly off, and I realize why afterwards, but I was a little bit too close to the bar. That meant that I was getting a slight round of the back. And when it comes to a slight round of the back, it's not too much of an issue, but you do, of course, want to minimize it. So here, 140, I set up a bit better, and even though it was a heavier weight, the form improved, and it moved up quickly. I bet if you blinked, you missed that. So here, you got my boy doing his PR, 110 kg, bam! Nice, love to see it, man. These clips are going by quickly, man, so I can't even give you the full thing of what's going on. That was 160 kg. Again, got a good slack pull on it, got good technique on it as well. So now, we've got my boy Abhishek on 90 kg. So when it comes to deadlifts, I don't use anything. I don't use any chalk, I don't use any straps, I don't use a belt, I don't use music, because there's nothing wrong with having some dependencies, right? I do take pre-workouts sometimes. I do sleep, right? You need sleep as a dependency, and you need water and stuff like that. But I don't want to have more than I need. And I also feel like it feels like I've actually accomplished the lift if I haven't used stuff like straps and chalk or even sumo. I know sumo is not actually cheating. Like, a lot of people joke about it. It is fine, but if I use a different kind of thing, if I use like some kind of handicap, like straps or a belt or something, it just doesn't feel as cool, you know what I'm saying? So here, just messing about a bit. Again, allowed to have some fun, right? I warmed up a bit on the leg extension, didn't have time to do the drops at a death, unfortunately, today. But I tried to max it out, so what you just saw was me maxing out the leg extension machine. That was 290 pounds, 137 kg. Man, this is going fast. So you saw Abhishek trying some stuff out too, 170 pounds he did. And now I'm doing a physique reveal. I found this sort of orange lighting. I found out it was actually a heater, but I wanted to see what it looked like. And it wasn't too bad. Because of the orange, it looks a little bit like I'm a bodybuilder on stage, even though I'm not that shredded. I'm probably like 14-15% body fat, but yeah, not too bad. Free coaching in the description. I've ran over the video a little bit, so you're just going to see a blank screen. Hope that you enjoyed this video. And remember, bro, keep improving.